And so in plot, we see the point of no return. It takes place when the hero encounters some obstacle, some opponent that seems to stop all forward progress. It's a brick wall. It's like they're not going any further. There's a definite stopping point. We see that in the plot. But in story, the purpose for it, the why of it, is that the hero makes a discovery. And what the discovery is that the born identity does not want to come to the surface. The born identity is so afraid of the traumatic event that repressed it in the first place that they would much rather be insignificant or alienated than face the fear of what they fear. To be made vulnerable again by being brought into the light. So it's not a simple matter of the hero just going in and rescuing and taking them back. They don't want to go. They do not want to go. The born identity does not want to be surfaced because of fear. Fear is what the hero has to deal with. He doesn't know that until he gets to this point. He doesn't realize that the fear within him is what's keeping the born identity repressed. It's not because he's insignificant or alienated on the surface because of his false identity. It's because of the fear that repressed the born identity in the first place. That is still strong. We see this in the example of the no return, point of no return in Knights and Dragons. The hero learns that the princess had an encounter with the dragon. So here he is, he's come up, he's found her, he wants to take her away in the middle of the night, and she's saying no. She had an encounter with the dragon, and the dragon scared her, and she escaped with her life, and she came back to this slave camp, because in this slave camp, she feels safe. She feels safe, even though she's a princess who's being made a scullery maid, she feels safe, so she's not going anywhere. She's not going back out into the open where the dragon could get her again. And so now that complicates the hero's situation to the point where now he is at a point of no return. He can make the decision that either he goes back, in which case he has failed, in which case he will never be the born identity, he will never restore it, fear has won the day. That is not an option for the hero. It's not an option for us as an audience. It wouldn't be much of a story if it happened, and it just doesn't happen because the hero's DNA says that this is who I am. This is my born identity. I can't go back. I know now what back represents. I can't go back. So the only way forward then, the hero has to lay down something, and the thing he has to lay down is his false identity. It's the false identity. Because the false identity is what creates this false security for the born identity. I'm going to say that again. The false identity is what creates the security for the born identity, to keep it repressed. So the false identity has to go. Because as long as the false identity exists, it creates that false security that's going to keep the born identity repressed. The hero will never be able to bring it out and never be able to be who he or she is supposed to be. That's a very key point. And that's why it's called the point of no return. You've seen this illustrated, if you've ever seen the example of the river Styx, where Death rides up on a ferry and holds out its hand. Usually he's wearing a dark robe and skeleton face, and he holds out his hand. He's looking for payment to be taken across the river. This is symbolic of the false identity. Unless the hero is willing to pay the cost to go across the river, to continue the adventure, he cannot go. So what he puts in the skeleton hand is his false identity. He's saying, I am not going to be this anymore. I'm going to go completely into my born identity. I'm going to manifest it myself. And when he does that, then he can go across. It's not that that Death needs any money. It's not about that. It is about laying down something that is precious to the hero. It has protected the hero. It has kept the hero alive in many ways, kept them from facing fear, certainly. And now they're laying it down in order to continue the adventure. Because there is no going back, they have to go forward. And the only way they can go forward is by laying down their false identity. In The Sixth Sense, we see Cole, who is the kid. He refuses to let Bruce Willis's Dr. Malcolm help him with his social disorder. The kid is perfectly content. He's willing to be alienated rather than be used. The dead people want to use him. They want to use him. They want to take it because he can see them, and he lives in the real world. They want to use him to accomplish all of their needs, and he doesn't want to be used. So we have this scene where Bruce Willis is trying to convince Cole Sear, the boy, to come into his care and to be counseled by him. And the boy doesn't want to, and he rejects the comfort and the encouragement of Bruce Willis. Again, not the strongest example of what I'm saying, but it illustrates it visually.